We're now in the studio by Berni Good. She used to work in the video games industry, still likes playing them, but is now also a cyber psychologist. Good to see you, Berni. We saw there, it's ruining some people's family life. What is the advice?
Okay, so there's no hard and fast rules here. It very much depends on the individual child and the individual family. So in an ideal scenario, you will have time limits in place. So there will be boundaries fixed very firmly in place. And it largely depends on what else the child has done that day, for example. You know, have they prioritised their homework? Have they spent some time with the family? You know, have they been outside? There's tremendous psychological benefits to being outside and engaging with nature and that type of thing. So before you allow your child to engage in gameplay, have some very firmly fixed boundaries and have some time limits in place.
Because it's important to point out, and I'm sure you're going to think this too, that games aren't inherently a bad thing.
No, you know, it depends on the genre and it depends on the type of game, and also it's very important that the rating is adhered to. The ratings are there for a reason, but people get an awful lot of good stuff from playing games as well. They get a sense of competence and well-being. It gives them lots of autonomy, you know, how to be the master of their own destiny, make their own choices, and it also allows children particularly to relate to others in a meaningful way.
Now, a lot of modern games are played on a tablet or on an iPhone or something like along those lines, where they are one-to-one, whereas there are options to play with other people. You've got sort of controllers, you know, like the Wii, where you can all get involved. Could they be encouraged a bit more, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the whole aspect of relating to others and cooperatively playing with other people is really great. So, you know, if you've got opportunities to encourage that, intergenerational playing is a really brilliant concept as well, where you've got grandparents and parents playing with their children. And in fact, because children are native to this and they understand it instinctively because it's always been with them, you find children are teaching their parents how to immerse in these kind of virtual environments as well.
That's a bit of a sweeping generalisation to say it, but historically the video games industry has been largely male focused. As more and more females begin to play games, are the games being produced changing as well?
Well, we're seeing a really interesting phenomenon in the industry now, where previously we had first-person shooter games. We now have these first-person perspective games, where there's not necessarily any weaponry or any sort of artillery or sort of, you know, any vehicles. And it's just about engaging in a story and a narrative within a gameplay environment. And that's encouraging lots of empathy. And again, that can encourage emotional intelligence. And we're seeing a lot of these empathy-type games at the moment.
So do you think the industry gets parental concerns and they are adapting accordingly?
Of course. I mean, I work with a lot of developers, and my experience going in to speak to these developers is that they're interested and they want to understand the phenomenon of what's happening to people when they're engaged in these virtual worlds. And they are interested in the ethics behind them. So, you know, to say that the industry is not interested in that is a it's just not true. They really want to make things better.